Let's look at the top news that's coming in. Russian President Vladimir Putin has warned a panel of experts at the Valdai discussion group in the Black Sea resort city of Sochi that the Trump tariffs on trade partners like India and China could backfire on the US economy. Criticizing the US President Donald Trump's efforts to pressure India and China into severing their energy ties with Russia, he added that the higher tariffs are likely to drive up global prices and force the US Federal Reserve to keep its key benchmark interest rates high. He hailed Prime Minister Narendra Modi's leadership, calling him a wise leader, and stated that PM Modi thinks first about his country and that he would never take any steps in relation to refusing energy supplies from Russia and suffer losses or any humiliation of the people of India in front of anyone. Putin also stated that India and Russia share a special friendship. The development comes after reports of Putin's visit to India at the end of this year. All right, joining me live on the broadcast is Foreign Affairs expert Shruti Dasgupta. Shruti, thank you for joining us on the broadcast early this morning. A very good morning to you. Clearly, this is good news coming in from the Russian president. He is saying that Russia is now going to boost up its partnership with India, and he is also praising Narendra Modi and his governance style as wise and balanced.
Yes, good morning to you and your viewers. Thank you so much for inviting me. I do understand that the statement coming out from Russia from President Putin is a very positive sign. He has played his statesmanship card very well. He has emphasized on the fact that he appreciates India as a partner. He respects Indians, and not just PM Modi, but Indians as wise consumers, as well as aware geopolitical analysts in their own homes. So he's played it very wisely, and he has said that any particular incitement or pressure by US will not just be looked down by the people of India. The political parties cannot afford to go down due to domestic issues as well. So apart from the monetary aspects of it, he's brought out the human aspect, the human cost of what any kind of tariff or unfair trade deals or pressure tactics by US will affect the relationship with India. So he's brought out his positivity towards how Russians have been very close as strategic partners since early 2000s with India, and they have proved it time and again, not just in the past and the other conflicts that we've had, but also in the current context, where they have systematically ensured that not just Russian interests, but Indian interests are also catered for. So his statements are very, very pro-India and pro-Indians, and he, as usual, he's played a very wonderful statement which kind of acknowledges not just the polity of India, but the entire nation, and he seems to understand that the flavor of India is not just in the power mongers, but the people who actually go and cast the ballots. They hold the power to influence their leaders, and hence he has addressed all of them as well as Indian interests in his particular statements.
Absolutely. I want to understand from you, Russia has also offered crude imports to balance the losses. In fact, President Putin has said that it will import agricultural products and even medicines from India. How do you think this will balance out the tariff that has come into place due to US President Donald Trump?
So US President Donald Trump has wanted India to open up certain markets which will affect its own domestic production cycles. So which is why I think the current team also has come back without any major statements being made by Washington or New Delhi. So the trade deals are stalled because there are certain hard lines that India is not ready to push for, and by opening Russian markets to Indian products, it ensures that Russia gets further trade and incentives to be partners with India, and Indians get trade and incentives to stay in the relationship beyond just crude oil. We are heavily dependent on Russia as of now, because we were heavily dependent with China, and we faced problems with them since Op Sindoor. So we've taken on Russian fertilizers and more. So we are looking to grow in, to have sovereignty as well as security in a lot of our imports. And Russia is willing to do that for us without tweaking the key or saying that we will impose sanctions on you, or we will hike up prices or affect your particular domestic dynamics. So in terms of partnerships, Russia proves to be a more mature nation, which is ready to ensure that Indian interests, which are harmed by other political factions of the world, will be given more space to grow in Russia and its partner nations. This particular messaging will not probably affect India as much, but will definitely have panic buttons pressing across Europe as well as America. So the EU is looking to have trade deals with India. We're still in the final negotiations of it. Hopefully by the end of the year, EU trade deal with India would come through. And these particular pointers are making sure that the EU also understands that if it bows to US pressure and tries to sanction India in a similar fashion, Russia is more than willing to take off things from the Indian markets and open its own markets for Indian traders, and other BRICS nations would probably follow suit. So it is a bigger messaging rather than just opening up of the markets, in my opinion.
Right. And also, don't you think this is hypocrisy on side of the US, since it continues to buy enriched uranium from Russia? However, it is asking India and China to stop their fuel exports.
This is a perfectly wonderful question. I think Putin himself addressed it. He said if you're looking at uranium and the other nuclear fuel, that is also fuel, and that particular import has increased. He himself, from the soil of Alaska, had stated that since the Trump 2.0 takeover, a 20% jump in trade has been witnessed between the Russian and the American nations. So why would such a hypocritical statement that you are fueling the war in Ukraine and Europe is fueling the war in Ukraine, while America continues to enjoy the benefits of trades with Russia? So the hypocrisy was not just called out by India and other analysts across the world. Putin himself has sent out indicators, and every time Trump and his administration is asked for, they bring out the quote that it is necessary for their national security, it is their sovereignty that it comes at stake, their interests that come at stake, and hence they are not reducing trade with Russia. They are importing the uranium, they are importing their particular needs without any qualms. So it is basically pressure tactics that what is good for me is not good for you. My gold is my gold. You do, but you still have to buy my brass when I ask you to do so. So it's a very hypocritical point of view. From their US standpoint, Trump is always unable to answer these questions. In fact, I believe in many instances he has gone after reporters and their publications and their networks when they question that why does if US is so strongly against Russian hegemony in the market and they want to kind of put pressure on Russia, why is it choosing it to do it through secondary hands rather than doing it through their own nations first? He always threatens the reporters or anybody else asking those questions. And so it shows that this is a particular weak point of US. They need Russia, they need China to survive, and that's why the sanctions never completely come through on those nations, but they are happy to have smaller nations bear the brunt of their aggressive economic actions by weaponizing tariffs and furthermore. And they're being called out, and soon, very soon, you will see that the world will start dissociating themselves from US trade because of the volatility of the entire mood by the Trump administration, and so we will find that they will have lesser and lesser say in the global geopolitics of this matter.
Absolutely. In the end, if US can do what they want for their national interest, I think even India can. Thank you, Shruti Das Gupta, for giving us